Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I'm thrilled to chat with actress, singer, and comedian Klea Blackhurst. Klea is known for her award-winning tribute to Ethel Merman, Everything the Traffic Will Allow, which she'll be performing on Sunday, March 10th at the Chelsea Table and Stage. There's a live stream option available, and we'll have the link in the description. Klea has appeared in legendary concert venues from the London Palladium to Carnegie Hall, most recently appearing as Emma Goldman in Ragtime, the symphonic concert with the Boston Pops. Her New York theater and credits include Party Face opposite Haley Mills, Bingo, Radio Gals, Oil City Symphony, and A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. And her television appearances include Pose, The Knicks, and 2 seasons on the Onion News Network as legal pundit Shelby Cross. Leah's voice is amazing, and her Ethel Merman show is really something to see. I was excited to chat with her, and I hope you enjoy the interview.
Klea, how are you?
Doing great. Thank you so much for making time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. I love talking. What can I say?
So, in doing my research to prep for this, I realized that I've been driving around with a song of yours on various mix tape CDs, whatever we evolved to, for 20 years. Kittens in the Snow. I had someone
Stop
give.
it.
Yes, a band that I was in too long ago. We would trade songs to keep up on each other's musical tastes and whatnot. And our drummer was just crazy. And the song that he gave everybody one month was "Kittens in the Snow" off Radio Gals.
Oh my gosh,
I had
hysterical.
No idea what the show was, nothing about it, but it has stayed in my rotation now for a long time. It is such a great song. And yeah, realizing that I'm about to talk
I love that.
You should have seen how excited I was.
An original kitten, yes. Meow, 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 meow.
Oh my
That's
God.
so cute. I love that. I'm going to call the writer tonight and say, you live on. We live on.
You live on.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I'm so excited to get to chat with you. Of course, the thing that you're actually doing now that everybody should be excited about is going to be at Chelsea Table and Stage, Everything the Traffic Will Allow,
Right.
on March 10th. And that's your Ethel Merman show, which you did originally in 2001 or so? Is that right?
Yes, it actually it opened in 2001, and then it just really took off in a wonderful way. It just kind of had this life of its own that, it got a little off-Broadway run, and then it just kept being booked, and it's just a really important, wonderful part of my life that I think a lot of my presence in the theater world, or having like sort of a theater career, traces directly to like that show. So I love to do it, and I think it's in a beautiful new room, and we're going to have the band, and I think it's really fun to revisit. I love singing the music in it. I mean, the main thing that I like to really drive home is that I don't imitate Ethel Merman. It's not that. It's not the shape of the show. The shape of the show is really like stories about her, and then just my own treatment of songs from her Broadway career, which is just a lot of wonderful material to choose from.
Gosh,
5 Cole Porter scores, 2 Irving Berlin, Stephen Sondheim and Julie Stein. I mean, it's just kind of this the Gershwin brothers. I mean, it's just an embarrassment of riches. And so just even to choose one song from each of the 14 Broadway shows she did is a really great lineup of music that we just put our own spin on. But it's just done really well for me. I love doing it. So I'm happy to be starting it up again.
That was one thing that I found interesting. Whenever I see it described, I usually see that in there, that it's not as if you're doing an Ethel Merman impersonation, though right. She has the kind of presence that can be, kind of boiled down to a good impression. That's not what this is about. Can you talk a little bit about she looms large over Broadway for everybody, whether you really know much about it or not. She's going to be the voice that you don't realize you know in a lot of songs. But for you as a performer, can you talk a little bit about what she meant to you as an example, as a voice in Broadway? What is your relationship to her when you were coming up?
Well, I think it probably really all just boils down to, how we are raised and what we're exposed to. And my mother was a musical comedy actress. I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah. So this was not highly, this wasn't like the height of the professional world. It was definitely a lot of singing and performing from the heart that my mother did, but part of, she had a great musical collection of records, and it's sort of part of our family lore. She had been in a USO tour of production of Annie Get Your Gun before I was born. And so she had definitely had that album. And it was my favorite growing up. It was my absolute favorite record to spin, and there really is like this sense that because my mother sang like that, with a natural belt, and then it was the 1946 recording of Annie Get Your Gun, which is a little less there is sort of the caricature of Merman that gets going, which is the that has this kind of like trill tremolo-y thing, scooping and diving between notes. But the 1946 recording is really actually just a very pure bell. Yeah. And I think that just became the sound in my head of what my mother singing like that in the living room, Ethel Merman sounding like that on the record player. And it's just kind of what went into my head as what women sound like. Mm-hmm. So it's not until I cross-reference it, a number of years later, when I'm like a teenager with a babysitting job, buying record albums every week with my own money and then studying the shows, I buy Gypsy and I realize how much I love this woman's voice. And then I realize like, oh my gosh, that's Annie Oakley from the other record. And I start to connect the dots to Ethel Merman has a power in her voice, a style in her voice that I love. I find it very electric and very exciting. The older she got, it gets a little more like we're laughing at it, as opposed to with her and anything that she's trying to do. It becomes like very broad as she gets older. But as I started to study her earlier, right, this is somebody who becomes famous overnight in 1930, singing I Got Rhythm in a new Broadway show by George and Ira Gershwin. Okay, so she becomes famous at 21, 22 years old, singing this song, and she's never not famous again, right? So we kind of have no great awareness of what happens all through the 30s, all through the 40s, all through the 50s, which ends at Gypsy in 59. By the time we're tuning into her on television and stuff, she's at the end of an extraordinarily distinguished career that most people just aren't aware of because we weren't making recordings of everything at that time.
Yeah, if I think of her as
that's
that
a
person,
long-winded answer. That's like,
oh no,
yeah, go ahead.
If I think of her as that person from Mad World, I'm really already speaking to the end of after all of those shows and years after that.
Exactly right. Exactly. It's a mad world, and then there's also like she made a disco album. She was on the Muppet Show. She was doing all kinds of things that she was making choices based on staying current and what she thought people wanted to see and hear, and that just changes so dramatically. But the span of that career is just the best we've ever had. We'll never see anything like it again.
Yeah, like you said earlier, just by picking her, you get basically a several decade greatest hits of Broadway. Simply because where she went is where it was, which is just phenomenal. When it comes to shows that you've gotten to do you have a favorite song that feels particularly good to sing? If you were in just the worst mood, it would break it.
Oh, yes. I know exactly what it is. It's Life is Just a Bowl of Cherries. So it's the song that virtually nobody associates with her. And I do it with a ukulele, which is its own special kind of. You see somebody sitting and playing a ukulele. If you can help smiling, you're a rough character. But that's the one I love, and nobody associates it with her. But it was from the only review she was ever in. The second thing she does after Girl Crazy in 1931, and I just love it. It always cheers me up because sometimes the most profound songs for me are the ones that are sort of the simplest in their ideas, so that they can really take on any given moment historically. Like, sometimes songs are so intense and specific to the character singing them, and they're so lush and incredibly complicated, which I love, of course. I'm not saying that. But something like Life is Just a Bowl of Cherries by Henderson, Brown, and De Silva. Life is just a bowl of cherries. It's so mysterious. Don't take it serious. Just live and laugh at it all. These are really wonderful, wonderful images in that song that just cheer me up all the time. And I can play it on a ukulele, so I can pick it up at any time and sing it, which is part. I don't play piano, so that's part of the charm for me too.
Yeah, I agree. I think ukulele could be a good sociopath test if you can keep from smiling. It's like a contagious yawn thing.
Exactly.
When you were first realizing what singing professionally would really mean, getting into this as a career, what did success first look like to you? Was there a first moment where you thought, it's changing, this is real?
Funny because do you remember the great Julie Wilson? Did you ever talk to Julie?
No, I don't believe
she was an extraordinary sort of a cabaret icon, and she had come up through musical theater in the 40s and 50s. But I remember she came and saw this particular show when it first opened in a teeny tiny club, and she came up and she whispered in my ear, "It's starting. Can you feel it?" And it gave me goosebumps because what she was saying is, this is the beginning of like what you've been wanting to do. Like, this is what it feels like. In a way, it's not about anything. It's a quiet thing, as Candor and Eb say. I always had this awareness that, like, I don't know how to say it exactly. I knew that I was in this for the long haul. I mean, it's me, and success has been sort of like elusive. I'm not known by millions of people or an incredibly popular. I mean, it's just kind of a very manageable success, I think. But it is the most interesting life. The people that I've worked with and come in contact with. I think it was maybe around the time, the early 2000s, when it became clear that I could do this as my job and not have much in the way of day jobs, if that makes sense, and just piece together a very tiny success story, living from the payment from this one to the payment to the, making it down the road to the next one, and so on. And I do lots of musical theater, and so I have theater contracts from time to time and little television things here and there. But it's this idea of kind of doing your own thing, singing the music your way, that is really, most of the time, I feel is worth the struggle to get to do it, because it isn't easy, and it's extremely insecure, the fact that it might actually work. So anyway, I feel lucky. I do make a living doing it, however modest that living may be.
Well, and I think a lot of the creative careers frequently just come down to you simply can't do anything else Really, I mean, no, I don't mean that you don't have any other skills. I mean, like, you mentally, this is the thing that you've always known you have to do, almost to the detriment of how
The
you're spending
calling.
time. Yes, yeah, you wish you could have another hobby, or you wish, but this is the one that feels right, and you've got to
Yes.
keep going
Yeah,
at it.
that's exactly it. You got it. You got it.
When I wanted to ask if you had to learn any dirty jokes for the show. Uh, if you ever had to yell anything across the room, Merman style. Um, if I'm
Well,
remembering right, she had a
it's funny
reputation.
because, she loved dirty jokes. She absolutely loved them. And I have enough material to do like an 11 o'clock or later show. I chose everything that kind of like airs on the side of not that. But I do have mutual friends of hers, her friends Tony Cointreau and Jim Russo, who were her great pals, right? And they let me look through some of her, some notebooks and some scrapbooks that she had. And there's one, she was a wonderful stenographer. She was a wonderful secretary. And she didn't have to rely on those skills. She was successful right out of the gate. But she did start out as a stenographer, so she knew the Pittman method very well. But anyway, they showed me this little notebook of jokes that she had so that she could tell. But they would go in and out between Pittman and just English, right? So it would be, it'd be like Pittman, just scratch, shorthand, and then it'd be like, so I told him, put the polydent back in your mouth.
Oh, God,
or
that's
something
hilarious.
like that. I mean, it would be like, the punchline would be there, but it's like, what do you think the setup to that is? I have no idea, but I'm sure it was horrible.
Oh,
so
that's hilarious.
Anyway, that was fun. I wanted to get it, and I wanted them to let me take it and transcribe all of it, but they wouldn't let it out of the house. So I thought, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Short of somebody learning Pittman, or you bringing somebody over. That is hilarious. Do you have a favorite song that you're looking forward to revisiting at the show on the 10th?
Wow. I mean, I always like doing our version of There's No Business Like Show Business. That's our encore or closing number, however you look at it. I love doing that. We kind of take it through a bunch of different musical styles that follow her through the years, from kind of Sondheim effect into an Irving Berlin, into the, a Gershwin kind of feel. Anyway, that's really fun. But I really do love the actual number before that. That's the final number in the show, is one called World Take Me Back, which is, Ethel Merman was the final Dolly Levi in the original Broadway run of Hello, Dolly. And, but a lot of times people don't realize that she was the first person offered the role. And so she had passed on it, and they got Carol Channing, and then a whole bunch of wonderful women had played it on Broadway, and Ethel Merman was the final Dolly. And she had heard rumors that there were these two songs written by Jerry Herman originally when they were offering it to her, and she wanted to hear them. And she ended up singing these two songs in her Broadway run of the show. And World Take Me Back is absolutely my favorite find in researching that show and doing it, because it sounds exactly like a Jerry Herman song. It sounds exactly like a song that Ethel Merman would sing, and nobody's ever heard it.
Yeah.
Or very few people have heard it. And so I'm able to sort of step out and represent both of those things in my own voice. And it's really thrilling to sing. I've sung it a lot. I sing it with a Jerry Herman show that I do with ASCAP, with symphony orchestras. I get to sing it on a fairly regular basis with big symphonies. And it's just a thrilling song. And it's the song that Jerry Herman actually heard me sing it. And we took up kind of a friendship and acquaintanceship, and he threw lots of wonderful work my way. So I think that one, I always feel like kind of a superhero if I can make it through to the end of it. And it feels really good. It's like an athletic event. It's like it's just exciting. So I'm going to go with that one, but they're all fun.
And I did want to talk briefly. You getting to play Shelby Cross on the Onion News Network is just a.
Yes.
I
Oh my gosh.
I can't imagine trying to rehearse that up, not break, say it with, not just get through it, but get through it with the snap and the force that you do. Can you talk a little bit about getting that role and what that's like?
Sure. Yeah, I was thrilled to get to do it. It was on IFC for 2 full seasons, and I think he was Shelby, who was the Onion's version of like Nancy Grace, like the voice for the voiceless, the fist for the fistless, like just this bombastic, my way or the highway opinion wise. And she was just so fun to play. I mean, I remember going in for my callback for that. Well, first of all, I listened to, you're sitting in an office listening to people audition, and I could hear them doing the scene. And I thought, no, that is not right. That is not right. It sort of sounded like acted. And I just had Nancy Grace in my head with like bombshell tonight, sort of that ridiculous delivery. And so I went in and did it. And I got a call back for the next day. I came back and I had been memorizing the script, memorizing. And I realized, Klea, this is not Cole Porter. Okay. Like nobody cares that it is this precise. It matters if it stand against the wall or hang on the wall. Right. So it doesn't matter which is right. Just get through this. And so I went in and actually did kind of go up on words at a certain place. And I was like, just make it work. Just make it work. Of course, I walked into this room and everybody was like in their 20s. And I am not in my 20s. And I thought, this is good. These are the people in charge. You just have to impress these people. So I just had a really good time, and they cast me. And they made her from like a 1 or 2 segment person to like on every episode, which was great. And then the second season, I had a segment on every episode as well. So it was like, I have to tell you, at the time, it was definitely, I felt a little bit like a rock star, because it was like I was being recognized, but by young people, and it was very hip. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I do specialize in the work of Cole Porter and Irving Berlin. So I'm not always like the hottest thing on the range, but this was like, I was sizzling. It was a lot of fun. It really was. And they wrote it very well. And what's funny is she was a news anchor, right? So the one thing you don't do on the news is memorize it. So I became very good at teleprompter skills, and they would write things, and I was very adept at just like the changes they would make, and we'd run it through. And, it was just a lot of fun. It was a great gig.
That's great. Yeah, I absolutely loved watching that. I wish more people had gotten to see it when it was first on. But of course, those clips are on YouTube now, like most things, and folks can go track them down. They're hilarious. Justice Sheds.
And what's funny is you can't find them under my name. You can only find them under Shelby Cross.
Right. You have to search. Which is kind of great. Yeah. Yeah, that actually might work out a little bit better for you.
No, listen. I mean, decoy Muslims. You definitely don't want to trace that to me. So it's great. I love that you even know what it is. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for making time to talk to you about it all today. I'm going to put the link.
Absolutely, I'm thrilled.
We'll have the link in the description. There's a live stream option where folks can watch if they're not in town on Sunday, March 10th to catch you doing.
Yeah, please.
Everything the traffic will allow. Thank you so much. It has been great talking to you.
Oh, thank you. I just really appreciate it. Take care.
You too. Bye.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener-supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.